teacher shortages. This is our main story on the programme this morning, because we're told it could become a problem in the future for schools in the east of England. The Department for Education says the region missed its recruitment targets by 22% last year, and there's been a drop this year too. So do schools need to think outside the box when it comes to new teachers? Let's hear from Now Teach, a charity which helps older people get into the profession, which could be a solution to the problem. Co-founder and director of Now Teach, Katie Waldegrave, is with us now. Katie, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So tell me a little bit about the work that you do, because clearly this is a problem, isn't it? A problem recruiting teachers in Norfolk and the east of England.
It is a problem, and it's a problem that potentially is getting worse as a demographic bulge working its way through secondary schools at least, and it's across most subjects now. So yes, it is a problem, but it is one that, as you say, we've been thinking differently for the last 5 years or so about how and who we should be recruiting. We've typically focused on young people sort of immediately on leaving university or shortly after, and increasingly that more people are showing an interest in doing it at a later stage. We've been talking about for the last 5 years or so, as I say, and people have begun to do it, which is exciting.
So perhaps one of the reasons why that there's a teacher shortage is that in the past recruitment for it has been a bit too narrow-minded, would you say? Because it does tend to be those straight out of university at the start of their careers who have traditionally been the ones that have gone into teaching.
Possibly. I mean, there are an awful lot of challenges, as we all know, within teaching to do with pay and flexibility. Though what is interesting is that actually it is getting more flexible in teaching. Most of our teachers who want to be working part-time have managed to secure that. So, I think that as the world changes, we need to change where we look for recruitment of new teachers. And, we're all living longer. This is great news, really. We often talk about the problems that involves, but it's brilliant. And that is going to mean, I think, that we will all have multiple careers. We will need to retrain ourselves at different stages, and teaching may well be one that suits some people at a different stage.
Is there an argument to say that actually once you've had a little bit more life experience, you've been out in the real world, you've tried some other jobs, that then you come to teaching, you've got different things to offer, haven't you? You've got a bit more of that life experience to bring to the table.
Sure. Exactly. And, I wouldn't want to say one is better than the other, but I do think that both are valuable. I started teaching at the age of 23, and there are things that now teachers could bring that I couldn't, even if I've been the best teacher in the whole world, I couldn't have brought those. And I think it's valuable for the profession that students and schools benefit from those as well.
Is it a help or hindrance as well that I would say, broadly speaking, older adults tend to be more likely to be parents than those straight out of teacher training college as well? So does that bring something different to the table as well?
I think so too. I mean, full of it's partly, yes, because when I started teaching, I was just 5 years older than some of the children I was teaching, which does bring its challenges. It's also partly, of course, that you know how to relate to the parents differently. You know how to relate to other adults differently. Yes, I think it does. It must enrich you. You know also that life doesn't necessarily follow a neat trajectory, and that isn't always the end of the world. And I think that kind of experience is valuable too.
Well, stay there, Katie, because I'll bring you back in a moment. But also with us, we've got Nick Sanders, who's from Norwich, who is one of the people who has made a career change to go into teaching at a slightly older age than you might usually expect. I mean, I hope he doesn't mind me giving away that he's 52, but he's called Nick Sanders. He's with us now. You don't mind me saying your age on the radio, do you, Nick?
Not at all. Good morning.
I've said it now anyway, so I'm glad you said you don't mind. So what happened then? What made you decide to become a teacher, probably older than a lot of people would expect?
Well, first of all, it's always been in the back of my mind. I studied languages back in the early 90s, and a lot of my fellow students went into teaching. I didn't, but now's my opportunity.
What appealed about it?
Well, I think especially with languages, it's one of those subject areas where if you do spend a fair amount of time abroad and enjoying the cultures, mastering your language ability, that sort of thing, I think especially with if you want to be a language teacher, then it makes sense to do that. So I think I do, going back to what you've just been discussing, I think I do bring slightly more to the table than someone who would be straight out of university.
What about in terms of going back into the classroom, Nick? Because presumably it's a long time since you've been in a classroom, certainly from a student's point of view. Does that way of life take a little bit more getting used to, school life again?
Well, I think if you've been in a different career for a long time, then and especially as the saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I think there will be challenges simply because it's different, not necessarily because it's a classroom, but it's because it's something you haven't been used to for so many years working in office environments and things like that.
Sell it to us then. If we've got people who are of a similar age or around that sort of age, a bit younger, a bit older perhaps, who've always wondered what it's like, how have you found it so far, that the transition and that sort of classroom experience?
So my classroom experience is pretty limited at the moment because the course that I'm on started only 3 weeks ago, and the first couple of weeks is more sort of the theory and getting to know fellow trainees. I have had a little bit of exposure to the classroom in Wyndham, and I have to admit it's been great so far. I think I'm very lucky with the school I'm at, and the course I'm on gives you a lot of support in various different ways. So I feel it's all starting in the right direction. And it's something that I can get to grips with.
Well, let's hope it goes well for you, Nick. Good to talk to you this morning. Katie, back with you from Now Teach. How typical is Nick's story then? You get somebody who's that sort of age who decides they think they can have something to bring to the classroom, that they have something to offer. Where do you start with them?
Well, exactly as he is doing. I mean, our job begins well before somebody teaches, which is trying to support. There are lots of different ways you can do it. You can go back to university, you can do a school-based training route, you can do it, obviously close to your home, far from home. So we help people find the right solution, the right way that they should be training to teach. And is it indeed right for them and right for them right now and their families? Because it's obviously in a way a family decision that you make if you live in one. And then it's incredibly typical, this sense of wanting to bring some of what people have learnt. I think often as we get more senior in jobs, it can almost feel like it's less obvious what we're doing or achieving perhaps on a daily basis, and particularly post-COVID as we sit in our little Zoom boxes. And there is nothing more real or joyous or difficult or fascinating than a school. And I think it's something very human to want to go back, if you like, and to be involved in all of that. And just as Nick was saying, to bring what you have learned, but also to learn again oneself. Again, as we continue in our careers, I think for a lot of us, we begin to think, God, am I actually learning anything anymore? Am I even getting better at this? So to restart all over again, to learn and to be around people learning is the most wonderful thing. So, of course, I am sure that Nick's students are going to benefit enormously from him, but also Nick's colleagues and students.
You've sold it well, Katie. But why do you think then there is an issue? Why do you think we are struggling to recruit teachers?
Yeah, I mean, you can't pretend there's not. There's clearly the question of pay, although people tend not to leave teaching for better paid jobs, interestingly. So it isn't just pay per se. I think it is workload and autonomy and the tasks that teachers are being asked to do. Incidentally, I feel like one of the interesting things when you have a group of Now Teachers, and we now have about 850, when you have a group of them together in a room, they're beginning to contribute to the debate around how other professions and other sectors deal with these issues, which I believe could be valuable. The other thing is, of course, that post-COVID, schools are having to compete for jobs where people can be flexible and largely work from home. I'm not sure, none of us are, quite how long this lasts, or indeed how long it stays sort of wonderful. But it is worth noting, again, I think that working from home suits people better at some particular stages of their life. So I have 3 small children. It's quite handy if I can work from home. But when you're maybe perhaps in your first job, or indeed once your children have left home, it doesn't necessarily suit people so well. So I think the competition there is complex. And there's a lot that needs to be done. But I feel optimistic. There's still, the fact is that being in a school on a daily basis is wonderful, though there are issues that need to be sorted out.
Well, as
and
I say,
it's
Katie,
very encouraging that more older people want to do it.
You've definitely sold it to us there. Thank you for joining us. Katie Waldegrave from Now Teach. You heard from Nick Sanders, who's training to be a teacher. We had a career change at the age of 52 as well. We've got a statement from the Department for Education, which says there are now 27,000 more teachers in schools than in 2010. For those starting initial teacher training this academic year, we're offering bursaries worth up to £27,000, scholarships worth up to £29,000 to encourage talented trainees to apply in key subjects such as chemistry, computing, maths and physics. This is helping to support recruitment and retention of specialist teachers in schools in areas that need them most. Teachers will get a 6.5% pay award beginning in September. Starting salaries are now at least £30,000, which recognises the hard work of teachers and leaders. We're going to hear from one local head teacher on the programme a little bit later on. A couple of things we'd like from you on this. Why do you think there is a recruitment crisis? Why are we struggling to get enough teachers in Norfolk? Your thoughts on that? Maybe you've been in the profession, or you know somebody who has, and you can shed a bit of light on that for us. And on the other side of it, I want your remarkable or memorable teachers from your time at school. Who has stayed with you? Whenever you think about being in the classroom, let me know.
Weekend